What's up, everyone? This is Adam with Rancid and Sweaty Calves coming at you with yet another video. Today we'll be talking about a really extremely racist video put out by Showtime promoting their new racist show called Everything's Gonna Be All White. Basically, it's going to be a documentary of a bunch of people of color, or maybe even just white people in general, leftists essentially, talking about how evil white people are. It's going to be extremely racist, so, watch your ears, watch your eyes. It may be scarring. And let's get into the video, shall we? Yep, there it is. Already, they're gonna lump all white people into this assumption that they're going to take this offensively. Okay, that's let's move on. Let's move on.
I think what annoys me most about white people is when they pretend like they're the victim. What's also annoying is when they kill us.
What is okay? Let's get started. So the first thing we get, they lump all white people into this crybaby narrative. They say, oh, all white people are victim people. They think, oh, we're victims exclusively because of something, and then they show some out of context video of a woman getting arrested by a police officer or taken out of a car. And look, people get emotional when they're in tough situations. But, the majority of the time, if a person gets pulled over, all you gotta do is comply, and the problem goes away because you're not gonna get shot, you're not gonna get hurt, you're not gonna get, you just have to, you just do what the police officer asks, unless the police officer is acting clearly outside of the law, and then you go on with your day and you pay the ticket off, or you go to court and whatnot. There's a reason why laws exist and citizen arrests exist and all these other crazy things that no one seems to acknowledge the existence of anymore. That being said, she also lumps all white people into the whole, oh, you kill us. You kill us. Yeah, all white people kill all black people narrative. That's totally accurate, 100%. Oh my gosh. No, it's not. Just look up national death statistics, national murder statistics, national murder rate statistics. In black communities, the biggest and most aggressive offenders of ethnic of murder in those areas are black people. It's black on black crime, and if you look in, I'm sure we all know about the whole Stop Asian Hate thing. And they tried to blame white people for that too, but if you looked at statistics in San Francisco, it's actually been revealed that the vast majority of Asian hate crimes were committed by black people. So let's that doesn't come down to an ethnic thing. It's not an ethnic thing. It's a governmental thing. The government has been allowing people in those communities to suck on the government teat for too long, and it needs to stop because it's actually causing massive drifts and massive rifts between fathers, sons, mothers, daughters in the black community. And government interference has actually affected the nuclear family of those communities and affected it in a very negative way. It's more of a family issue. The fact that there aren't fathers there, the fact that statistically speaking, if you grow up without a father, you're more likely to lead a life of crime than you are if you have a father or you have a father at home. And government subsidies saying, oh, you can do this, baby mama, it causes a massive issue in the black community when the government interferes and gets in the way and gives these government subsidies for single women who are taking care of their children. And so now there's no need for a husband and a provider to be there because mom will just get whatever she wants from the government. And that's what's causing all this crime and all this other crazy stuff in the black communities, and it's just been propagated throughout the generations because one kid doesn't have a father, and so they say, oh well, I'm not going to be there for my kid, and it's just something that they grow up with. Now it all comes down to a personal choice, right? It all comes down to a personal choice. It should be personal choice, but they always blame it on, oh, white people are evil. Let's move on.
It's fragile about whiteness when everything has been constructed around it.
Every part of who I am has been distorted or criminalized.
It's really just a bunch of white lies.
Oh, you can already tell it's going to be the title of an episode. It's just a bunch of white lies. Okay. Shut up, Mr. Hippie Man with the beanie and terrible sunglasses with an unshaven face. the first thing that they talk about in the section of three people is, they say, what's fragile about whiteness when everything's been constructed around it? Anyone who knows anything about American history knows that white people were not the exclusive ethnicity that was constructed around the ideology of America. The ideology of America is that a single individual can make their way through life and can do something with their life if they so choose to, meaning that they are free to make their own decisions, their own choices, and go down their own path. They are free to choose to do whatever they want, so long as it doesn't go against basic laws, basic human decency. You are given all these freedoms, all these opportunities, everything's at your fingertips, especially in the modern day, and yet here we are blaming a certain ethnicity of people because you're too lazy to go do something, or because you haven't been taught how to do something, or because this or that, and the easiest thing to do is just blame white people. But and then they go, oh, and it's all because white people were the creators of the Constitution, the creators of this, and the creators of that, and it was built exclusively to prop up white people in America, which is false. It is false. America was created so that the individual had the opportunity to do what they wanted with their lives, so long as it wasn't criminal, and they could see how it went. And it irks me whenever someone talks about that, because it shows that they have a clear misunderstanding and a clear ignorance about what the history of America is. And then there's one person in hijab. Why is it that everything I do is criminalized? Well, here's the thing. There is a massive amount of people with hijabs who commit terrorist violence, and the vast majority of people actually support Sharia law, which is incredibly terroristic in nature and incredibly sadistic and sexist and evil and racist in nature, because they believe that if you're not of this specific ethnicity, you cannot be put into heaven. Which is basically, like the black Jewish Israelite people, whoever they are. I don't remember their names, but and then it's just. If you guys just calmed down and kind of adapted to modern society, where there wasn't all this, oh, I'm going to kill you, Allahu Akbar, you'd probably be better off in the eyes of most people. But let's go on. Let's move on. I'm not saying that all people of Muslim descent are like that, but let's be honest here. In the modern era, you have the Chinese government trying to commit terrible acts of violence, and you have terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, just a bunch of others, and it's just been propagating since the Crusades. And anyone who doesn't know about the Crusades, I'll make a video on that too. I'd love to talk about it, but I'm gonna make this video way too long if I keep rambling. So let's just move on. I'll let
We're storming the Capitol. You're not patriots.
Oh,
You're
here they come bringing in the Capitol.
One of the definitions of American whiteness.
I'm just gonna say this real quick. Anyone who thinks that the Capitol was a riot or an attack against American democracy, you need to research it. You're completely false. I think it was stupid for people to go inside the Capitol and start getting a little bit rowdy, but I do think there was instigators. And if we're going to deny the BLM riots as a massive attack on American democracy and a massive attack on American constitutionalism, then we can deny the January 6th supposed riot or supposed insurrection. Read those with quotations, because the BLM riots were so much more vastly an attack on American society and American civilization than a couple of people getting rowdy and a guy wearing a horn hat and taking a picture next to a podium in the freaking Capitol building. Okay, the BLM riots were burning people's businesses down for months on end, and it's ridiculous to assume that anything else, something so minuscule as January 6th, was worse than that. Millions of dollars in damages, hundreds of casualties, people losing their jobs, people losing their lives, the country being burned down. It's ridiculous. Don't get me started on that.
Is ignorance.
There's another blanket statement that all white people are ignorant. Let's move on.
White people, we are not your problem. You are.
Should white people today feel any responsibility for slavery?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So white people should feel guilty for the sins of people who committed atrocities 150 years ago. Really? Okay. Then that means that every German should feel guilty for something, for what Hitler did. Every Russian should feel guilty for what Stalin did. Every Chinese person should feel guilty for what Mao did. Every Mongolian should feel guilty for what the Mongols did. Every black person should feel guilty for what the Africans did when they sold their own people into slavery. Every Jewish person should feel guilty for the death of Jesus. Every person in existence who has ever been a part of an ethnic group of people that had an atrocity committed by a head or a group of that people doing something evil should feel guilty for what that ethnic group did. That's exactly how we should think about it, right? So if white people should feel guilty for something that was done 150 years ago and has actually been made right in today's day and age, and been, actually, no, not been made right, actually been flipped on its head and made into a situation where the only group of people that can be racistly targeted is white people, then black people should feel guilty for being sold into slavery by their own people. And as I've already mentioned, the Germans should feel guilty for Hitler, Russians should feel guilty for Stalin, Chinese people should feel guilty for Mao, the Mongols should feel guilty for the Mongols, so on and so forth. If we're going to be consistent, let's just make that the basis, okay? If we're going to be consistent, and now they got Jesus up here, I'm guessing they're going to claim something about Jesus wasn't white, and everyone knows Jesus wasn't white, okay? Jesus was Jew. Jesus is a Jewish person, okay? Jesus was born a Jew, lived his life as a Jew, died, and was resurrected as a Jew, okay? That's basic knowledge if you actually understand the Bible. And my guess is that they're going to say Jesus wasn't white. The geography suggests that he was black or something like that, which is completely inaccurate because he probably looked a little bit more like Ben Shapiro or a little bit more like any of the other 6 million people that Hitler killed in the Jewish community. Okay? Jesus probably looks a little bit more like a person wearing a hijab. Jesus probably looks a little bit more like your average Jewish person than anyone else. Let's get that straight first.
White Jesus or black Jesus?
Jesus was not white. Think of geography. Ain't no way Jesus walked around with blonde hair and blue eyes.
White culture.
So anyone who doesn't understand this, blonde hair, blue eyes, the fair skin, the bright colored clothing, that was all so they could get a really good color contrast coming into those cathedrals back then. That was the main reasoning why. It wasn't because of some racial hierarchy or some other garbage like that. They said, what are the best colors that we can get to really show some sort of glowing effect as the light streams in through the windows? Now, I disagree with it because the Bible calls not to have any graven images or idols that can be misconstrued as the true God. But let's move on. It's not that big a deal for a cathedral to want to have some sort of beautiful artwork on their windows to have light streaming in a certain way. I disagree with having any picture of Jesus as a reference as to what he looks like, because we all know Jesus was a Jew, and it's stupid to have a graven image because it leads way to idolatry. Let's move on.
Culture fears the end of the world. For us as native people, the end of the world already happened like multiple times.
Okay, if the end of the world already happened, how are you still breathing? Not to mention, a lot of Indians in America, when the Pilgrims came over, were actually instigators of violence and instigators of the war that took place between the Indians and the Americans. There were atrocities on both sides, don't get me wrong, but you can't say that, oh, only white people were committing these atrocities, because you guys, Indians back then, were also tearing out the hearts of their enemies, sacrificing children to their pagan gods, and then raping and pillaging women and children, and destroying entire villages of other Indian groups. And to suggest that that's somehow better because it was untouched by white people is incredibly evil and incredibly insensitive towards actual criminalization of certain things. Let's move on.
Symbols and monuments, these are mementos of racism.
Bring that statue down. Put up a TCBY yogurt or something everybody can get behind.
The truth has to be told about history.
Truth has been told about history for quite some long time, and but the real question is, truth according to who? Because if you're just going to say what you think based off of what the media has propagated, you're not actually telling the truth, you're telling propaganda. You have to look at the actual, wholehearted, genuine truth, and anything less is a mockery of actual history and actual historical truth. I mean, we're tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, people who actually fought against slavery, people who actually fought against these horrible acts of human depravity. We've been tearing down statues of people who have fought against evil in the world and saying that it's evil to have those statues up. It's ridiculous. If you tear down the past, there's no reference to what will come in the future. You have to understand the past, and to understand the past, you have to know what happened in history. You have to have these monuments, you have to have these history books, you have to have the truth of the situation, not something that caters to what you specifically believe. And like I've said, I'm willing to admit that there have been atrocities on both sides, on American history, on American soil, in the American culture, in the Indian culture, and in other country cultures. There have been atrocities from every ethnic group of people, and to suggest otherwise is racist. Moving on.
We have to make sure that these stories are told from our perspective.
They just said it. We have to make sure that these stories are told from our perspective. Not the truth, but our perspective. Back up.
There's always hope. You know what I'm saying? We don't give up.
It's about obliterating systemic and institutionalized racism.
There is no systemic or institutionalized racism. It was done away with probably 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, okay? Everyone, I mean, there may have been some level of institutional racism throughout the 40s and the 60s, but afterwards it was done away with, and anyone who did anything against that was punished because it was criminal to suggest that a person could only get a degree based off the ethnicity or color of their skin. And it's actually been flipped on its head. Now white people are being systemically oppressed by the government and by mainstream media and mainstream corporations because it's taboo to suggest that a white person can somehow stand on the same footing as a black person or another person of color, okay? Let's just get that straight there first, okay? Let's just get that straight. Now let's move on. Let's keep watching the rest of this garbage. Let's just...
This is a wild place, y'all. It's a wild place. I know Harriet and Frederick be up there just like, what is they gonna do?
They're probably looking down and saying, I wonder why it is that all the people we fought for are extremely racist today. Why are they doing the exact thing that we fought against? That's probably what they're thinking. So that was the god-awful everything's going to be all white trailer. Now I want to show you something that's going to get a group of people into more trouble than this. Like, that was an extremely racist, disgusting video about how evil white people are. And it was completely unfounded, and it didn't actually bring in any statistical facts or historical reasoning. It was just more mainstream propaganda and lies. But if we go down here, there's this really funny alteration. Let's skip about halfway through.
What is they gonna do?
Terrible. This is just absolutely
It's nothing but landmines.
More programming like this, Dave, is on its way.
I know, that's what I've heard, actually. And it's the entertainment business, and there's always similar companies trying to compete.
Yeah.
And there is actually a project, and it comes from the Hallmark Channel.
Oh, good.
It's premiering its very own series on race, Pretty Fly for a White Lie.
Black people, I mean,
so for
nothing
those of you who
really,
don't know,
I mean,
this is going to be a parody video. I think there might be some language in this parody video by the Crowder crew. Maybe the B word, and I don't have a way to block that out, so anyone who might, get offended by that, close your eyes, close your ears, don't pay attention to that part. But yeah, this is a pretty funny parody of the video. And this video right here, what they're about to do is just going to highlight the ridiculous nature of the everything's going to be all white video, and it's going to just kind of play out how ridiculous it is in relation to, something as racist as calling all white people evil. This is going to, basically they're going to try and make it sound like white people are trying to curtail their racism. I can't explain it in its fullness. Just watch this, it's hilarious.
I love black people. I voted for Obama. I mean, I didn't vote. I would have voted for Obama, but
Well, oh, jeez. I mean, I like black people.
I guess if I had to pick one thing, maybe just in movie theaters, if you could not talk so loud.
I mean, I would have voted for Obama a third time.
Now, if it's Medea's Halloween, go crazy. I mean, I get it. It's hilarious. But if it's the new Tom Hanks picture, I mean, I'd just like to kind of enjoy that with my sweetheart, so.
You know, I do get nervous when my overweight nurse has 6-inch press-on nails.
One small thing, I just ask that you just don't push my Harmony in front of the train again.
Do want to apologize for some of the modern inconveniences that we might have caused. For example, airplanes, electricity, modern medicine can be pretty expensive, calculus, clothes.
I guess when I'm filling up my tank, could you please just not yell, "Hey yo, white bitch"?
Yeah, this is where they say that.
Democracy can get kind of rough.
And they're highlighting things.
Space travel.
Maybe on a job application, you don't put under prior work experience.
They're just talking about all these white inventions that have been made, like electricity, airplanes, space travel. There's a bunch of other things, and these are the same things that people are calling racist nowadays. So let's move on.
We was Kangs.
I've been supporting myself through college. Tipping would be nice.
Who knows what's out there? We could have like aliens, or like the moon could explode. They're just, you know, we put that on you, so I do apologize for that.
Saw your son today. Maybe give him a call. I think he'd really appreciate it.
and then there's that common joke. That parody is going to get the Crowder crew in so much more trouble than the actual promotional video of an extremely racist show. This is a parody. It's a common comedic joke about highlighting certain things that are common tropes within an ethnic group, and and then in the background they're showing actual BLM riots and black people beating up Asians and all these other crazy things that have been going on in the past 2 years. And this video, that parody, is going to get them in more trouble than the actual racist video of Showtime putting out an extremely racist, anti-white show exclusively for the purpose of making white people seem evil. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. If you have the time, I would recommend checking out the Crowder Show, at least this little video, because they do go into some talks about the ridiculousness of the Showtime stuff and the racism of it. It's ridiculous. It's horrific to see that this is what the country is coming to, and I also recommend watching Michael Knowles' show, because he covers this as well, and he has some great points on it, and he covers it in a lot quicker of a time than I do. I've spent about 25 minutes on this, and Michael Knowles is able to do it in like 7, so I would recommend watching his video on it as well. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it as well, and if you did enjoy it, I would appreciate a like, a comment down below telling me what you guys thought, a subscription if you'd be willing to click the subscribe button if you're not already, and if it's not too much, go ahead and share with your friends, your family, and other individuals who you think might need to hear this. Alright, that's it for today, guys. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week.